welcome to Talking with Tom and Jim. And before we get to anything else, Tom and Jim, please sing us your cell phone song.
You can't leave home without your phone. No, you can't leave home without your phone. You'll be all alone, you'll be on your own if you left your telephone at home.
Yay! All right. So in case you couldn't have guessed, we're here with Tom Goldrup and Jim Goldrup. They are film historians. They know a lot about the golden age of Hollywood. They've written 4 books on the subject, and they are obviously 2 parts of the best barbershop quartet ever. We'll have to find the other 2 parts. It's definitely not the 2 of us, but that was fun. Next to me is Daniel Dye, who is an actor mostly. He's done other things. He's mostly just a kind of a kook. But he has a lot of experience in the acting field. And I'm your host. I'm Jeff Greenwald. And welcome, guys. It's so great to see you.
Good to be here.
Yep, and yep.
Yay!
I will say that my background is not a painting. It's real. People have been saying, oh, it looks like a painting. It is not. It is real. I'm in the California redwoods. I would say specifically for our topic today, but it's just a coincidence. But I thought it was so cool that we could talk about the Gnome Mobile.
Gnome Mobile. Let's go ride in the Gnome Mobile.
Sooner or later, we feel that wheel.
I want to
I never thought I'd hear myself say that on this show. Like, so for those of you who don't know why this has become a thing, I feel necessary to explain that long ago, in an earlier episode, I was discussing a very good movie, and I said something like, if you're going to see any movie this weekend, I'd recommend, and Dan says, The Gnome Mobile. He just chimes in with that, which you'd think it's just Dan messing with me on air, but Dan says The Gnome Mobile all the time in any situation. Like, oh, what do you want to do today? The Gnome Mobile. Let's watch the Gnome Mobile. Like, no. Like, so this wasn't new. I've been dealing with this with him for years. He is obsessed with the Gnome Mobile. So after talking about it, you guys had never seen it. And finally, I broke down. He broke me down over the many weeks of doing the show. And we all watched it again, fresh. I had actually never seen it, and you guys didn't. So, okay, Dan watched it again fresh, and the rest of us were subjected to it. So, thoughts on the Gnome Mobile, which was filmed right here in the Redwoods.
You probably won't believe me, but before we ever saw the Gnome Mobile, walking in the redwoods in back of our house, I saw these little people, and they said they're gnomes. And I said, what's a gnome? And now I know what the gnomes are.
Yeah, what were you smoking at the time?
I don't smoke nothing.
now, but we are going to explain.
I'm not talking about 1967. Yeah, we enjoyed the Gnome Mobile. Really, it's a good film for families, and
good film for kids.
The only thing that we thought kind of bogged down was the ending when that long drawn out race. I mean, the thing that, not race, but the little gnome guy, Tom Lowell, forget his character's name, and all these women, and they're trying to
Jasper.
That's the only good part of the whole movie.
I
know we argued about this.
I liked Horatio. I like Horatio.
I thought the Gnome Mobile was a good movie for little kids. I was somewhat bored with it.
It was a little thin on plot.
Well,
the ending was terrible.
I got a little bored with the ending, but Horatio was my favorite character. Sean McClory played the part, and Jim and I had the opportunity of knowing him, interviewing him for our books and such. And he played the guy that had that freak show that steals away the gnomes. And
he's sort of a con artist, right?
It was fun watching him.
We also know John Cliff, who played a night watchman.
The guy with the dog.
The guy with the dog.
When
the night watchman.
When Walter Brennan was escaping from the asylum.
And we know the guy that played the second male nurse in the sanatorium.
Yeah, Hal Baylor. Those 3 are the ones we know. And then also, one more thing. One more person we know with the movie. In the beginning, is going to give the credits. Art stylist Sam McKim and somebody else.
Sammy McKim, a child actor.
He was a child actor, and then after his career as a child actor came to an end, and he wasn't able to really progress on into adult roles, he was an artist, and he got a job working with 20th Century Fox, making those not lobby cards, but those big posters to go out in front of the theater. And then he got a job working with Disney.
Walt Disney wanted him to do a painting of the haunted house for Disneyland. Because he was trying to figure out, what to make it look like. And Sammy McKim did the painting. Walt Disney saw it. He said, "A nice painting, but too spooky. That's the way I want the house to look like inside,
not on the outside." But Sammy gave us a copy of the haunted house that he had envisioned. Here
wow. Wow. And what roles did he play as a child? Like you said, he was a child actor, and that was where he got his big start.
Oh, he did all kinds of things.
He starred in a couple of serials.
He starred in a couple of the old serials that they did, and he did a lot of films. I can't name one right off the top of my head, but he did many.
And speaking of doing many films, you mentioned Sean McClure. So he was talk about an acting power couple, right? Because he was married to Peggy Weber, right? Correct?
Oh, Sean McClure.
Sean McClure, yeah.
Yeah, he was married to Peggy Weber. They met each other.
That's how, like, as soon as you said Sean McClure, I'm like, oh, the guy who was married to Peggy Weber, which is kind of maybe for some other people, they know it the other way around. But for me, I was saying, but anyway, power couple, acting-wise. But Sean McClure, we haven't really talked, we talked about Peggy Weber a great deal. What about him?
Well, Sean began his acting in the theaters in Dublin, in Ireland, and when he came to Hollywood, his first few movies were a couple of your favorites, Jeff. The old Dick Tracy movies. He played an Irish cop in a couple of the Dick Tracy movies. And then he went on to have his own TV series later on. He did hundreds of many movies.
What was the TV series?
The Californians. It starred him and Richard Coogan. During San Francisco during the days of the vigilantes in the 1840s or whatever. And then he worked for John Ford in a number of films, and then him and his wife both had this theater that they did a lot of plays there in Hollywood, and
he owned the theater.
Big guy, good Irish actor. What?
He owned the theater there.
His wife, I guess his wife basically did, and so they did it together, and they had people like Lee Marvin and those kind of people acting in their shows back in the earlier days. Yeah.
In this film, I was going to say, in this film, he's fun. I guess he's the villain, right? I don't know if there's a villain. He's the biggest villain.
The biggest villain, yeah.
But it's more like just a goofy con artist. Is how I viewed his character. Although he does kidnap the gnomes.
It's interesting that he is probably the most colorful character in the movie, and you have gnomes in the movie.
I found myself, because there's a couple of actors who were in Tom Lowell, who was the main gnome, and now that I blanked on the gnome's name, they keep yelling his name throughout the whole freaking movie, but I can't remember it now. And then the
Jasper,
thank you. Yeah. And then I forget the actor's name now, but the actor who was the bald guy with the glasses, who
Richard Deacon. Deacon. He was the next door neighbor on Leave It to Beaver or one of those early shows.
And he was in both those actors were in That Darn Cat. I think the year before this. And as I'm watching them, I'm like, oh, cool, him. Man, I should turn this off and just go watch That Darn Cat.
I always enjoyed Walter Brennan.
It's a goofy movie.
He's a 3-time Academy Award winner in some bigger films.
It's amazing that this movie, because I agree. I hadn't seen the movie since I was probably 8 or 9, and when I'm watching it, I'm like, okay, the plot's pretty thin here, not a ton going on. I mean, but the cast that's in it, you're like,
Yeah.
It's pretty amazing, like who's in the film itself. Like,
Ed Wynn.
Yeah, Ed Wynn. It was his last movie.
It's Ed Wynn's very last movie. Yeah, his very last film.
He apparently passed away right before it was released.
Oh.
But it's got the kids from Mary Poppins in it.
And they're credited as the Mary Poppins kids. Did you notice?
Yeah.
That's unheard of. That's so weird.
Our brother Ray and I met Ed Wynn way back when they were filming a James Stewart movie, Dear Bridget. And it was filmed in Sausalito. And,
when was this, Jim? What year was this?
That'd be back around 1964.
He was a nice guy. We just talked to him for not long. But
another guy that pops up in this film, and he's like Whit Bissell. He's in almost every other film ever made. Is a guy named Byron Folger. He played the hotel clerk, but he's in thousands of movies.
He and his wife both
him and his wife. Yeah.
In a lot of movies.
And you mentioned there were two other actors. One was the guy with the dog on the ground. What was that?
John Cliff.
He lived in Hayward.
Yeah, he lived over in Hayward. That's where we got to meet with him, and so we saw him on several occasions. And
we made a copy of. He had a 16mm film of when he was doing a TV series of Circus Boy. He played a lion tamer, and the lion actually jumped on him.
And the trainer comes running out and kicks the lion off.
So we were able to make that into a copy for him on DVD of the scene that people don't see in the film.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow. Circus Boy. That's the Mickey Dolenz series, right?
Mickey Dolenz. Yeah. He was. Yeah.
Yeah. Wow. That's really cool. And then there was the other person that you knew was the
male nurse.
How Baylor. He's not the. There were two male nurses. Not the guy that was snoozing outside the room when Walter Brennan was making his escape, but his partner, the other one. He was in the scene when they drag Walter Brennan out, and he was in the scene with the chase in the car, and the car goes flying over the hill, down the side of the mountain, or whatever.
I remember as a kid loving that car scene with the thing just flapping, the hood flapping in front. It was like I think to me it was like Pac-Man chomping, or as it's running down the road.
The car, that whole thing where the car kept losing its parts. As an adult, you realize that this is ridiculous, but you can also just laugh and enjoy it. I thought that was fun. I think that this movie's really strange because it's not on Disney Plus, and it's like one of the few movies that isn't available on the Disney website, and it's like people are wondering why. And I remember Dan and I were kind of like,
I was curious about that. I was thinking maybe it was one of those ones that's in the vault. It's like they're not going to, and that we were going to watch it, and there was going to be some horrible thing about it that I didn't.
Like something horribly offensive. Whoa.
Now. Yeah, and the only thing I could see is the bubble slippery wrestling to catch your mate.
That was the greatest part of the film.
It was certainly the most action-packed. It was like, it did actually, it had character development going on. That
scene, okay, Dan, if I get married and I have a bachelor party, you're in charge of the video and just put that scene on a loop.